Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to supercharge your English. We're going to tackle 4 super common mistakes. The ones that always seem to pop up. The goal here is simple, to help you sound way more natural and feel a lot more confident when you speak. I mean, you know that feeling, right? When you're in the middle of a sentence and you just freeze? You're thinking, wait, did I say that right? Was that the right word? It's so frustrating, but trust me, it happens to everyone. And the best part? It's actually pretty easy to fix. And that's exactly what we're here to do today. Now, don't worry, this isn't going to be some boring, heavy grammar lesson. Nope. Think of it more like we're handing you 4 simple keys to unlock that next level of fluency, to make your English sound smooth and natural. All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to tackle those tricky verbs, do, make, or have. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of daily routines. After that, we'll learn how to add some perfect detail. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a quick check guide. Sound good? Let's go! Okay, first up, the big 3. Do, make, or have. Now, I know in a lot of other languages, you might have just one verb for all these things. But in English, well, they each have a very specific job. And getting them right, it's a total game changer for sounding natural. So the secret word for today is collocations. It sounds fancy, but all it means is words that are basically best friends. They just naturally go together. You can't mix and match them. Like you'd never say do a party, right? Or have the bed. It just sounds off. You've got to learn the right partnership. Let's kick things off with do. The easy way to remember this one is to think of tasks, chores, or just general activities. It's usually for stuff you have to, well, do. Things like doing the dishes, doing your homework, doing exercise. You get the idea. These are actions you're performing. Okay, so what about make? Make is all about creation. You're producing something, creating something that wasn't there before. You make the bed, you make a decision, you make a phone call, you're even making a snack. You're bringing something new into the world. And rounding out our trio, we have. This one is all about experiencing something. You have a party, you have a meeting, you have a shower. And here's a cool little distinction. You might make a snack for your friend, but when you eat it, you have a snack. See the difference? One's creating, one's experiencing. All right, that's key number 1. Let's move on to the next one. So now that we've got the right verbs, how do we talk about our daily routines? Well, that's where the present simple tense comes in. This is absolutely foundational for talking about habits and things you do all the time. And you know what? The main rule here is surprisingly simple. All you have to do is ask one question. Is the subject he, she, or it? If the answer is yes, and it's a positive sentence, you just stick an S on the end of the verb. Seriously, that's the biggest part of it. So look at this in action. You wouldn't say, she go to the gym. Nope, it's she goes to the gym. Same thing with he watch TV. That becomes he watches TV. That tiny little S makes all the difference in sounding right. Okay, but what about negative sentences or questions? This is where people get tripped up. But here's the secret. The S doesn't just vanish, it moves. It hops over to the word do and turns it into does. And then the main verb, it gets to chill out and go back to its original basic form. So this is the big trap to avoid. Once you have doesn't in there, the main verb is just do. She doesn't do housework, not does. And it's the same for questions. Does he work from home? The S has already done its job on does, so the verb work doesn't need one. Okay, awesome. You've got the right action words, you've got the right tense for routines. Now it's time to add a little spice, a little detail and color. This next part is all about explaining how often you do things, and we'll also nail down how to say numbers like a pro. So let's talk about frequency adverbs. These are the words that tell us how often something happens. Think of it like a scale, right? At the top, 100%, you've got always. And at the very bottom, 0%, you have never. But the real question is, where do you put them in a sentence? Well, there are basically 2 magic rules, and they're super easy. Rule 1, the adverb goes before the main verb. For example, I always drink coffee. But, and this is the exception, if the verb is to be, am, is, are, the adverb comes after it. So you'd say, she is always on time. Not, she always is on time. That's a super common mix-up. Okay, let's switch gears to numbers real quick. First up, decimals. That little dot you see?
In English, we always call it point. So this number is just 8.2. Simple as that. A lot of people say comma, but in English, commas are for big numbers, like in thousands.
Now, what about when a number ends in 0.5? Sure, you can say 2.5, and people will understand you. But if you want to sound really natural, you say 2.5. 2.5 kilometers. And listen closely, the most important part is that little word It's 2.5, not 2.5. It's a small detail, but it makes a huge difference.
And one last tip for numbers. When you're talking about big, round numbers like this one, here's the rule. If there's a specific number in front, words like thousand or million stay singular. So it's 7,000, never 7,000s. The only time you'd add an S is if you're being general, like there were thousands of people there.
Whew, okay, we've covered a ton of ground, right? So to make sure this all sticks, let's do a super quick recap. Think of this as your personal cheat sheet for everything we just went over.
All right, let's look at this all in one spot. First, those verbs. Remember, you do homework, but you make a decision. For the present simple tense, it's all about that S on she goes and how it vanishes on he doesn't sleep. For adverbs, the word order is key. I always go, but she is often late. And finally, for numbers, it's 8.2 and 2.5. Got it? So what does this all boil down to? Honestly, it's all about practice and just noticing things. The more you listen to how native speakers talk, and the more you try these things out yourself, the more automatic it's all going to feel. You're just building good language habits, one step at a time. And that's a wrap. So I want to leave you with a little challenge. Just one question. Which one of these rules are you going to focus on first? Don't try to do them all at once. Just pick one, really work on it this week, and you'll be amazed at how much more confident you feel. Thanks so much for joining me.